And you say you joined this through LinkedIn, right? I saw on your LinkedIn saying that LinkedIn helped you to get the job.
Yeah, so LinkedIn asked me, can we? So after I got the job, LinkedIn said they sent a pop up when I was updating my profile. They said, do you want to? Can we say that you got this job through LinkedIn or not? So you have the option to say no. So I said yes because I did get it through LinkedIn. So how did I get it through LinkedIn?
So the other thing that is a buzzword, guys, is machine learning. I think right now machine learning is, I hear data science. I hear data science is also here. You know, and I think a lot of the data science guys, they also employ a lot of machine learning, because machine learning allows you to actually do some rigorous work which is computerized, which can be done by machines, which is computers and softwares and stuff like that. So yeah, man, I think machine learning, if one wants to look into that side, I think it's also something that is very promising. There are already people who are in it, and there are people who are making good money in it, actually. So I spoke to Mahlatse Mariba on his role. He is a senior machine learning specialist at Multichoice, you know. So obviously he employs a lot of data science into the work and stuff like that, but as a machine learning specialist, he deals with machine learning. And man, it's quite interesting the stuff that he does. We're actually doing a project together. It's a research project, and we have an honor student who we're working with. So it's so cool, man. And for those of you who are doing maths and you're doing some linear algebra, man, you'll appreciate that stuff from now. In fact, you'll appreciate the whole maths. In fact, there's a lot of mathematics, man, that is going on in machine learning and in data science and all of those type of things. So when I had this for the first time from my class, I was like, whoa, bro, what are you saying? What are you saying? Are you being for real? So doing this project is called vector databases. So actually what happens is that is the actual work that Mahlatse does. Um, so what actually happens is that when you are going to, let's say, MultiChoice or Netflix or DSTV, any of the streaming services, and you search for like a movie and you type the name of the movie there. So what the algorithm does is that it actually converts that weight that you have typed into a vector. And you have other information that is stored as vectors. So then it takes that vector that the weight that you've computed or that you've inputted, it converts into a vector and it compares it with other vectors that are stored, in the database. Remember, in the database, everything is stored as vectors. So now that's where now they check, like, so in other words, it returns you, information of similar vectors. I hope I'm explaining it well, because, yeah, there is a lot of, I mean, sometimes I struggle with explaining such, from a mathematical concept to a real concept, but I hope I'm trying. So everything is stored as vectors. The data is stored as vectors, and then they use linear algebraic methods to actually find similarity between the data. Because if you're dealing with huge data or large data, you need to find ways in which you can analyze the data and correlate the data. And in most cases, in doing that, they employ, mathematics, like hardcore, like abstract, pure mathematics, whereby now you're looking at the linear algebra of the vectors, because these are vectors and stuff like that. So I was like, this is very dope. So I was like, man, let's do something on this. And then we have a student whom we are co-supervising together. Um, and it's good because it also gives the student industry insights, because now they're actually working on something that is industry based, but they're still using their mathematics to work on it and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? This is cool, man. It doesn't get cooler than this. So yeah, so here's Mahlatse just narrating to us about his journey in his career as a machine learning specialist, and what does it entails and how to get into the field. etc., etc. Let's get to it.
So now, you're a senior specialist in machine learning at Multichoice Group.
Yeah.
Konje Multichoice is the one near the DSTV.
Yes. Yes. That's correct. Yeah.
And what do you do? What do you do? I mean, this title is so bombastic, man. You know, senior specialist in machine learning. You know,
Yeah.
take us through your role.
Yeah. Okay. So what I do there, so when you're a specialist, you're focusing on mostly, so hence I put slash senior data scientist. So you can't be um a machine learning specialist without at least understanding, so okay, this is how things work when you do machine learning. If you have a machine learning project, the first thing you will have to do is analyze your data, understand your data. If there's some data cleaning process that has to be involved, you have to clean that data, you have to structure it in such a way. By the time you build a model, it's not the largest part of the work. The largest part of the work is structuring your data, coming up with a business problem and say, what exactly do I want this model to do? Okay, fine, I have the data. Is the data structured the way I want, and all of those things? So if there's missing values, there's a lot of things that you need to do. There's outliers, you know that very well. I'm just throwing it out there just to show you that you wouldn't struggle if you became a data scientist.
Sure.
Yeah. If you need to look for outliers and stuff like that. So there's a lot of data analysis involved, right? Then after doing data analysis, then you build a model. So in other words, for you to become a machine learning specialist, you need to have passed. You need to have really understood what data science, like data analysis as it is, what it is, understanding like the data science, the normal way of just doing data analysis and data scientists, understanding a lot of, there's a lot of statistical terms that you need to understand. A lot, my brother. That's why I'm saying to you, statistics is a very, very huge foundation for data science. You need to understand your, let me just give you an example. There's things called weight of evidence, things called your information value, where, let's say, if you're building a model, you're trying to understand some variables. What value do they have in building or predicting what I want to see in the future? Do they provide value? So if I have to give you an example, I like to give an example with banking because I started at banking. If I want to understand that, will Ben Mahudi, for example, default on his loan if I gave him a loan, one of the variables or things that I would look for is his income, right? So income will have a lot of value. So when we calculate information value, we calculate information value of that variable or information value of income. How much value does it have? Does it carry? You may find that it carries more value than the work experience. Sometimes the work experience will carry more value than the income, or maybe not the work experience, but your payment experience on how you've been paying other trades or other loans or your credit cards that you've had in the past. So in terms of what I do, I look at things like your recommender systems. So when you look at multi-choice, if you go on DSTV Now app, um, if you go on home, you will find things like Just For You. So you have Just For You, it will be movies that or shows that are recommended just for you, right? Then you will have things like continue watching. You will have things like recently watched, um, similar to what you have at Netflix, literally. So those are those are recommender. We call that recommender system or recommender engine. Those shows were recommended to you. So that's part of the work that I do to recommend those shows to you. I'm part of that team. I haven't built that. When I got them in, it was already built. I mean, that thing has been there. So
Sure.
obviously, the job that I'll be doing is just to ensure that we can improve it, make it better, improve the search results as well. For example, so the search results. If you're searching for something on the app, if you're searching for the name of a movie or name of a show, how fast can it return the results? Um, how good is it at also recommending shows that are related to that one that you searched? How good does it give you exactly that show that you're looking for, even without specifying the name of the show? Maybe just write things like, if you just say romantic movie, how good is it at just giving you only romantic movies and not shows that are not relevant to romance? So that's part of the work that I do as well there. So yeah, I'm part of quite a very, very exciting team. There's a lot of people that know how to code them, and it's yeah, I feel privileged to be amongst people that are very good at coding. And I like the fact that they're also using cloud. So one of the things that the data scientists that want to learn data science, they must understand that companies are trying to move into cloud a lot. So we have your SQL databases. So this is how it works, right? So if you go to the industry, can you still hear me?
Yeah, very loud and clear.
Yeah. So let's say you go into a job. I'm asking because I can't see you anymore, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. Let's just continue. Um, let's say you get employed, right? You get employed at company A, and then you get employed at company B, right? So the traditional way of storing data back in the days is you have or let me not say back in the days, I mean like currently, even now. If you're not on cloud, if companies are not on cloud, the traditional way of storing data is through SQL databases, you know. So it's through SQL databases. That's where data has been stored. But now companies are moving to cloud. So what is cloud? You have your AWS, you have your Microsoft Azure, um, even Huawei. It's trying to launch a cloud solutions as well. So you have all these companies launching cloud solutions where you can basically store your data. So obviously, where you can store your data, you are able to do certain solutions directly on the cloud without like there are certain solutions that you wouldn't be able to do traditionally unless you do it through the cloud. Or at least it would require a lot of ugh, yeah, let me not go too deep because I probably if I go too deep you wouldn't understand. Yeah, but but that's what I do, man. So I work on the cloud. Literally our data is stored fully on the cloud. So that's very exciting for me. Yeah.
And you say you joined this through LinkedIn, right? I saw on your LinkedIn saying that LinkedIn helped you to get the job.
Yeah, so LinkedIn asked me, can we? So after I got the job, LinkedIn said they sent a pop up when I was updating my profile. They said, do you want to? Can we say that you got this job through LinkedIn or not? So you have the option to say no. So I said yes because I did get it through LinkedIn. So how did I get it through LinkedIn? Through a recruiter. Somebody texted me on LinkedIn and say, we're looking for a specialist in machine learning. And If you're interested, would like you to share your CV, and yeah, would love to interview as well. So if I have to be honest with you, my entire life, I've been privileged, if I have to say. I have never applied for a job on a website or whatever. All the jobs, all the companies I've worked for, it was through a recruiter, literally. And how did I know how to leverage on these things? When I went to business school, it's one of the things that they advised, that you need to be out there, like be someone who's bothering, like be a, I don't want to say be a fly, but be an animal that is bothering, an animal that bothers, man. Like be someone who bothers, always ask questions, always seeking out ways. So my first job, I got it by texting someone who was a recruiter. So how do you find out that someone is a recruiter on LinkedIn? You search recruiter, the word recruiter. You search the word talent, or the phrase talent acquisition specialist or talent acquisition. Or you just search HR, right? And then you write the name of the company if you want to work for that specific company. Sometimes, usually recruiters usually they are independent people, so they're not people who are working for, let's say, it's not someone who's working for Multichoice. It will just be someone who has a company, which is a recruitment agency. They help companies, they partner with companies and say, we can find you, if you're looking for data scientists or you're looking for whoever, we can find those people for you. You'll just have to pay us this much. That's what usually recruiters are. They're just people who help companies to get, employees. So I search online, I search on LinkedIn, and then I will search for the names of those people. Or if I'm lucky, then somebody texts me on LinkedIn and says, like I did, like they did with MultiChoice. The other option is, if you go on PNet, you can register your profile on PNet. In fact, I still get calls even today from PNet, where people are looking for jobs. They will say, "Oh, we're looking for a data scientist, man. Are you currently in the market? Are you currently looking for a job?" And then I will say, "No, currently I'm not looking for a job." So basically, what I'm trying to show you is my entire life, I've never applied for a job, and quite possibly I'll never have to, because I'm using these resources. I'm using LinkedIn, I'm using PNet. So what I advise people as well is that, and it doesn't matter which industry you're in, actually, it doesn't matter, even if you're not a data scientist, even if you're a lecturer, you go and register your profile on PNet. You provide all of your work experience, everything. It will ask all those questions, and you plug in your answers there, and you leave your numbers, your email, your CV as well, and then people will call you. Those recruiters will call you. So based on your profile, if they see that you're matching the job description of what they're looking for, they call you and you can get a job just like that. You also register on Indeed. So there's a website called Indeed. You also register on Career Junction. So it's PNet, Indeed, Career Junction. Register your profiles there, leave your CV there. It increases your chances of getting a job a lot. And then, of course, if you are in tech, then you go as far as registering on, there's a website called OfferZen. So OfferZen, it partners with companies. So what they do is, you will register your profile there, and you will specify even the salary that you want. On OfferZen, you can even specify, this is the salary that I want. So then companies, representatives of companies as well. That's representatives of companies exactly. So the HR of that company specifically that will be employing you. The HR would have registered their profiles as well there. If they like you, the HR, they will text you directly and say, "Hey, Mahlatse, we've seen your profile. We would like to interview you or send you an assessment, a technical assessment, and if you pass, then we'll interview you, and then we move to the next stage, and so on." So, yeah, that's another website where people can register their profile, especially in tech, as a data scientist, as a there's many men. Others are even international. Yo, bro, there's so many jobs in tech. I don't want to lie to you. There's so many jobs in tech, and my wish and my dream is that one day we can have at least at least I, it's hard, but at least 30% of South Africans just learning how to code, getting to a level where a South African, it's so easy for someone to code and actually provide a solution in just a month. Somebody so good that someone can actually just create Twitter from scratch. If you go to China, China doesn't have Google. China doesn't use Google. They don't use Google. They have their own Google. China has their own social media platforms. They have all of those things. You name it. China has a dummy iPhone. If you go to China or you research about them, they have Huawei and they still have phones that look like iPhone. And so they're able to replicate. So being able to replicate these things, it's one of the best ways of improving in tech. And it increases your chances of even coming up with new ideas because you understand how things work. When you understand how things work, it becomes very easy to always say, okay, fine, now I understand how Twitter works, but what if I created Twitter for something else? Maybe just I created Twitter only for my church.
Sure.
I'm just giving you an example because you understand how Twitter works. Okay, now let me just create Twitter only for church. There was a lady who created what is this thing that she created? Oh man, I forgot it. It was something like was it a Spotify? I don't remember what it was. Something like a Spotify where it was just for the church.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, just for the congregants alone, nothing else. And I mean, obviously, it depends on you. You can either make it free or you can monetize it. And if you do that, let's be honest, if you do that at a church, I mean, how many people, how many customers are you exposed to there, my brother, at church?
You remind me of why am I forgetting his name? He created this thing called Zol Apps. It's actually an app for Difela just you.
I have that app. I don't know who's that. Who created that? I have it.
Is you probably know him, man. Renari Ninja Zola. Kind of what's his Oba King.
Zola, the electrical engineer guy.
Yeah, he's the guy who
He's
created
the
that app. Yeah,
what? Wow, man,
yeah.
brilliant. Nah, he's brilliant, bro. Because I'm using this app, I get notifications every day. I only had to pay. Well, how much was it? I think it was 70 rand once off.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
he created that app, Gadifela. Any
yeah,
fela that you want is there, and then you just search and stuff like that.
yes,
Uh,
yes,
so you see those kind of things. Is exactly what you're saying. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and even when you look into all of these things, how everything sort of came about, like you had Facebook, because the way I view them myself is just it's more of the same model, but is just now targeting different people. Like LinkedIn is like Facebook, but for professionals. One can put it that
yeah,
way. And then
100%.
you have Twitter, which came out as like Facebook, but their target market was for news and for like it's just different
Trend.
variables, different derivatives, but
Yeah.
the idea is the same.
Yeah. We can go as far as talking about Uber, talking about Airbnb. Is the same thing. It's the same business model. We are just a middleman. We will be a middleman for you. We just create an app. Airbnb is just a middleman. That's all it is. Uber is just a middleman. It connects the driver with the customer. Airbnb just connects someone who wants a place to live for a night with someone who has a house to provide for a night. And that's it. It's the same business model.
And you
Same.
can take it to Tinder and all of those type of things.
My brother. My brother. Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this thing is still here, but I remember there was a guy whom I knew who was staying at Midrand. He was
Yeah.
telling me about this app there. I think they used to call it the Red Velvet or something, but it was just for hookups, you know.
Oh, yes.
But
When I was in varsity as well, I heard of it. There was even boards on next to something. Every time when I was coming from home going to vets, you will find a board there. It is written red velvet and all that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, no.
Yeah. So it's yeah.
So now, if somebody wants to become a specialist in machine learning like yourself,
Yeah.
because you started as a data scientist and then became a machine learning specialist or senior specialist in machine learning, is there a sort of
Road.
a route map that if you want to be, or it's just one of those things that they just pop up at the time, and how does it work?
Uh, okay. So when you're a data scientist, remember what I said. You analyze data. There's data analysis involved. Most of the time, literally, there's data analysis where you're just analyzing data, telling us what the data is saying. You know. Then there's a point where, depending if there is a business problem, you build a model as well. You don't only analyze that data, but you tell us what can that data tell us into the future. How can we prevent certain risks? Because remember, in business, there's always risk. How can you mitigate risk? You can mitigate risk by building machine learning models. Models that says, do not give Ben this loan, because if you do, Ben is not going to pay. You're going to lose money. You know what I mean? Um, or Ben is going to be a good payer. So definitely, I advise that you give him the loan. And then, so already as a data scientist, you are required to know how to build models and stuff like that. Now, as a specialist, it will just be an addition to what you already used to do. So as a specialist, you'll be going deeper into dealing specifically with models. Like in most cases, you won't have a project where you're doing data analysis. No, you're focusing specifically on just building models, maintaining them, mitigating risks through machine learning models. That's what a specialist does. Machine learning specialist, excuse me, slash machine learning engineer. So there's roles called machine learning engineer, and then there's data scientists. Yeah. So machine learning engineers, they are technically the more superior because they can I mean, if you can mitigate risk, how much money can you save a company? Let's be honest. If you can say, if you can mitigate risk and say that when you build a model, my brother, you know linear regression as well. So you can build a linear regression model where you can actually show a company how much I can save you money just using data. Just using data. That is machine learning engineer. That is machine learning specialist. So obviously there's a lot of things called CI/CD pipelines, which is called continuous integration, continuous development. So you'll be using certain tools that as a normal data scientist you won't be using. Um, yeah, so there's a lot of tools that you will use as a machine learning engineer compared to as a data scientist. But ideally, even as a data scientist, you should be using those tools. But I can tell you most data scientists don't. But as a machine learning engineer, you can't walk away from it. You have to. There's no way you can do your job without using those tools. So, in terms of roadmap, uh, I mean, honestly, I was working as a data scientist, so it when I got interviewed, I told them directly that I don't want to do data analysis. I want to specifically deal with models directly. So there were two positions. I actually interviewed twice. I interviewed for data science, and then I told them, okay, I don't want data science. I don't want just data analysis, and sometimes I do models. No, I want to do models all the time. Sometimes I can do data analysis. That is fine. So because I just jumped into it, it's a new role that I just jumped into it. I started in May, so it hasn't been so long. Um, there's still skills that I'm learning. There's still a lot of I don't want to lie, I've learned so much in such a short period of time, and this is why I'm very excited about working here at MultiChoice. To be honest, it's yeah, I'm learning a lot, my brother, as a machine learning specialist, and it's exciting projects as well. So in terms of what I can say on roadmap, I mean, I'll just say people must just understand, CI/CD. It's very important because you'll use it a lot if you're gonna be working with models, because you always have to be deploying your models, maintaining them, fixing them, and then deploying them again. It's very important, and obviously you can't walk away from statistics. You can't walk away from Python, because when you build models, there's statistical things that you need to calculate before you calculate your model, before you build a model. So statistics is critical in data science. If you do data science and there's no statistics, you're not doing data science. Just know you're not doing data science. Because it's impossible to walk away from it. Even when you're doing data analysis, if you're gonna say the average number of people, you're already talking statistics. If you're gonna say the highest number of people, you're already talking statistics. If you talk about how a certain variable varies or changes, you're talking about variance and standard deviation. So you can't walk away from those. You can't walk away from statistics. Yeah. So yeah, understanding statistics is very important. Understanding machine learning models and the algorithms. What are they trying to achieve? Which models can I use for certain projects? Because even in machine learning, there's certain models you can't use linear regression, for example, for a classification problem. And when I say classification problem, I'm saying a problem where your solution is supposed to be either or, supposed to be 1 or 0. You're classifying this as not paid or paid. Classifying this as churn or not churned. So if we're talking about customer churning, for example, that's a classification model. But if we talk about money, you're talking about values, you talk about predicting a price of a house. So one of the things that one of some of the projects that what I'll do, my brother. What I'll do is it's fine. I'll include it on the YouTube channel. What I'll do is I'll talk about projects that self-taught data scientists should try and focus on, because it will teach them to touch on everything in terms of machine learning as a data scientist. It will teach them on touching on linear regression, touching on logistic regression. I usually use these ones because they are the basic ones. I don't want to use the big ones now. I'm telling you about XGBoost and what. Those are a bit more advanced models. But the basis ones, you have your linear regression, your logistic regression. So I will provide on the YouTube channel, I will talk about those projects that they can look into, those that are self-taught. It will at least equip them with those skills that are important.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yo, there is a lot in this field of yours. I can sense.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed.
And definitely there is a lot of growth, right?
A lot. One of my goals is to sell data science. I want to sell it. I want to show people why data science is it's so becoming so big. I want to be known as a data science guy because it's growing, and I want to show people that this is not a scam. This is, you're a mathematician. Maths doesn't lie, bruh. No, 500 is 500. Zero is zero, man. Zero is zero, especially if you like, come on. Unless you go way too deep. If you've done obviously your PhD, then you can start arguing that zero is not zero, it's something else. But that's like advanced level, which if we're talking like in the real world, zero is zero. So the data science, what it does, it gives you a situation where numbers don't lie. Data science is just going to say, if something happened in a company, we want to know what happened. You literally just go and look at the data, analyze everything. Guys, this is what happened last month. Why did we lose so much money? We lost so much money because so many people, for example, didn't pay. So many people, okay, fine. A lot of people didn't pay. What could be the possible reason? Then we start looking at the economy now. Oh, the possible reason is that interest rates are increasing. People are suffering. Interest rates are increasing. People are finding it difficult to afford the installments. All those things. Why are people selling their houses? Why are people defaulting on their loan? It's the economy. It's tough. You understand? It's all data, nothing else. That's data, bro. So when you have that data alone, it's what do you call this? It's a commodity. Yeah, it's a commodity. Yeah,
It's the new gold.
it's the new gold. So for that person who was asking about whether it will be, why should I join data science, convince me. I think at this point, I think I've convinced enough at this point.
Yeah. If they're not
Yeah.
convinced, then they don't want to join.
If they're not convinced, then they are not. They're just not interested, I guess. Yeah.